Okay, so we're gonna get the facts here from the real guy himself, and you're gonna get the facts from the real scraps, because it's real scraps, and then some follows in this book, and the rest follows in this other thing here. Alright, I'm Primal Leader, I'm World Boss, right on Man on Earth, and just hear the story. We're not in a fancy way or anything, just as is, right? Straight. In 2020, David was in a new environment. The sun was shining a lot brighter. The green on the grass and trees added to their luscious feel. He had moved on from his relationship and had said his last goodbyes. To close off the end of the year on a high note, he had completed the logo design with the company that he found on Facebook. Right? He had changed the entire face of T's Painted Interior and Exterior Limited. Now the steps of getting it official would follow. The chicken coop was being built. He had bought the materials to do so, and so busy working on it by himself. The young guys in his area would come and spend time watching him build, as they would also be linemen. Then he bought 6 black giant chicks, and it was the start of something new. Oh, it was the start of something new. New Year's was met with a beach lime, headless Bluetooth and dark shades. Not a beach bath, but a beach lime. It did not take long before business calls began coming in. In the month of January, he made around 15,000, and the following month he made 14,000. He quickly proceeded to new chicken houses, chickens, and even built a chicken run. So I want you all to understand, I'm not reading it in a special reading voice. I have to try to figure out what I was scrap writing. I've scrap written, right? He had to buy the tools, the sauce, etc. Fix his room up, paint it, and buy vinyl. The chickens had reached about and we were living good and eating proper. He had gotten the jerseys with the new logos, 10 hats, and had gotten 14 pants made and placed the logo on 10 of the 14 pants. He was doing awesome paint jobs. His exercise had improved. He had even improved. He was now able to deadlift some weight he never could have before, and even added to that by at least 40 pounds. Lyman movie tonguing, and these things would not be left out. Sabbath keeping had become only historical, not traditional anymore. He no longer held that view, but he would still travel to Cascade every other Monday evening to pray and worship with the intercessors, where he got 4 of his 14 chickens from as well. Facebook Lives had increased, and his presence on social media had become a little more again. There were upcoming jobs, and so he had to fly London as God had told him. Knowing that he had jobs coming up, he spent the 7,300. There was this there was this joy because he was totally free from religion, more so denominations, Sabbath, and marriage. As the time came closer, he realized that the job got postponed, so he felt as though he had made an out. All this time he had held something today. He had held daily conversations with another cousin in America, a prophet who had been used to show him a lot of prophecies. There was also a young prophet from Marval in Trinidad himself, where he lived, who prophesied to his life as well. There were three from Jamaica and from the Bahamas, and yet another 2 from Trinidad. He was always surrounded by Jesus Christ, and they, the prophets, all prophesied the same word or words which were in line with all that he was hearing. Something that this young man had mastered was the ability to have people around him who were connected to God.
yet harnessed their ability to make all the moves he made regardless of their viewpoints. He knew how to listen and how and when to draw the line. And how and when to draw the line. He was very humble and serious about God and the perfect will of God. God was speaking to him in ways that religion would not agree. He knew where to take his cue, and although no one else saw it, the results answered all questions and even convinced the doubters. The date for London came in the spirit, and he heard March 15th to the 22nd, and that was it. London came and happened. It was a blast, and the days were going by. Soon he would be back. COVID was fresh on the scene, and places were locking down. London was to be no different, or worse yet, Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister had, by the will of Jesus Christ, came to a quick decision to lock down the airport and have no plane flying to the country after March the 22nd. David then flew back into the country at about 5 p.m. and it took over an hour to reach out of the airport because of the new restrictions that had been added. He was feeling sick from the long and boring flight, and he knew it. So when he saw the tests that they were doing, he prayed and asked the Holy Ghost to cover him and hide that he was feeling either inside out on the heat, or hide that he was flaming in heat. He was not going to any quarantine center. He passed through undetected, like he would do in the future when making certain moves. Alright? It's not about no best writing and storytelling. We have things for that. We just, that real. It's real stuff. I don't need to look at type of way or wear a jersey or anything like that, or edit any stuff, right? This is really behind the scenes. This is how I come up. This is how I get big on the scene. Let's get to it, right? Awesome. Spirit of God. Lloyd had roughed up and manhandled Vijay some years back, right opposite Vijay's house, for talking unadvisedly in front of prayer. He had spoken of coffee, which Lloyd had already denied. Lloyd had also cussed him up, roughing him up about his mother. It was not personal, it was just not the type of conversation to have in front of Lloyd, better known in Flagler as Shutter's wife. Trick, for the definition of wife, Chicky treated differently. Vijay had always been a bitch nigger, so that was easy work, but ever since he held grudges for such. As time went on, and years passed, Vijay, who drank rum, lined with friends, told everyone that came by him about Shutter. He really wanted help. Did I say he was a fucking bitch-ass nigger? Well, when drinking rum, he would pass by driving and slow down watching everyone hard. He would regularly have these episodes. This carried on for years. Then Vijay started to line with Aki. So he told again and must have gotten some sort of protection plan. Ha ha ha, fucking funny. Anyhow, in 2016, Shutter aka Preacher, aka Shut, had given his life to God and left off the small hip hop informal trio, which also included Dre and Vil. Let's get back to where we are. It should be noted though that in 2020, when Shutter returned to Fire Drive, he went up to Vijay and apologized for all that had happened since. Vijay said it's small thing once no one touched him. Shutter knew he had placed hands on him, but Vijay was speaking about during the years of beefing. Shutter heard the ranking talk, but because he was on God and business, he ignored it. Right? That's the only reason. I guess that made the little Indian pussy think he was something. I'm quite uncertain. The little cunt would go out of his way to be rude, pulling up behind cars, honking his horn and cussing, acting like a real big dog. Facts, nigga. Everyone around would be quiet. Shutter would watch him and watch everyone as well in a smooth way to see their reaction because the little child was blowing smoke at everyone who came to Shutter. Vijay was also known as Tights, a name he got from Rose for the clothes he wore. Tights was really smelling himself, and when the project started to build in the front, jealousy picked up. It was said that Shutter had killed Tights' father that same year, about 2 months before. This was no ordinary crime though. It was believed to be done through the spirit. The truth is that Tights' father was the ringleader for a lot of hate thrown towards Shutter and would even talk loud about him sometimes in front of his face. I guess he did not care about nicknames. It must be noted that he came after Shutter in the spirit and Jesus Christ killed him. Of course, Shutter played his role, and the morning he died, Shutter stood in his yard and grabbed up his last 4 breaths, north, east, south, and west, not knowing, though what he actually did, he would later find out, or I would later find out. Shutter never attended the funeral and was asked why he did not go, to which he responded in a very humble tone, "No one invited me, and I did not want to impose." Daniel went to the funeral and carried others with him. One bitch-ass nigga. Nah, so far, 2 bitch-ass niggas. One day Daniel came home and made a scene because he was jealous of Shutter and the building of the foundation, always being an ass, and made a scene about not being able to park inside. He spoke but did too much when he approached Shutter too close and his face encountered a fist. They fought and Shutter gave him a slight beating, but more so held him restrained and reprimanded him and corrected him with few instructions. Word got out, of course. Someone is always watching. Shutter did not tell anyone, but he heard of it on the street that afternoon. Work continued as planned. And that afternoon work continued as planned. Shutter, laughing and smiling, and offering Daniel one of his energy drinks to gain some energy for a round 2. Swear. The street was quickly reaching that something. I know what I was supposed to reach, that the reputation of the G still carried, realizing here that the reputation of the G still carried, and although he was not pushing the previous vibe, that he really was and would always be that nigga. Vijay was not alone anymore on the streets. Vijay was not alone. Everyone on the streets was planning for Shutter. The nigga was making too much moves. Vijay had played mad and saw death so late in the night. He would go and plan with 4 and them a waste of fucking time. Tell me, who the fuck really bad around this bitch? One Saturday night, Shutter, who was now calling himself Billionaire Tim, went to buy something by the Chinese, and as he sat there, he realized men were gathering. He saw the scene, and the Spirit of God told him, "Okay, you saw enough, get up and walk." While walking, he saw Vijay and a Spanisher driving coming, and they saw him. He watched them hard, and they did not have the heart to get at him. Some days before, though, Billionaire Tim had seen 2 Spanish bitches by the Chinese. Since coming at Shutter, all of that has fucking changed and has remained changed up to this very day, and even while I'm reading right now, right? 100%. So the Saturday night, Shutter went home and placed a knife in his waist and went down the road. When he saw the youths and every neighbor by their gate watching, he knew they were all in on it. He was on a different type of time. Earlier that day, he had trimmed a run in the gallery, and he was just down on the street walking around Ronaldo, Carlos, and Aaron, asking him what happened. He knew they were in on it, but because he was so used to those things, he was not even vexed with them. He knew that all only cowards get vexed with everyone. He knew he would have to deal with it because it was on. Clearly, that night he would go out with Aaron all down in Dago side to buy a car part. He wanted to go rich plain and fuck up the place later that night because he realized how much people were involved. Instead, he told Aaron, I ain't going there again. I would deal with it with my God so nobody could ever say they helped me. So they ended up around the savannah eating doubles. On their way back, Aaron was driving and texting a trap scene, and Shutter saw him but played it real cool. Aaron said he was passing through San Juan. He wanted to make up time and show Shutter to the Nigerian who sell in the Quizzy. When they reached back over the highway by the Chinese restaurant, Aaron's brother-in-law was out there drinking and asking them to lime a while. Shutter then told them both, I am going home, and told Aaron to drop him home. He also told Aaron, I was just waiting on the call you got, and laughed. The following morning was Sunday morning, and Shutter broke down the scaffolding in the apartment, walked down in the alley, and hailed Micah and Red Jason. They were all in on it, and Carlos had even reached out a Frog Drive. Shutter went to carry back the scaffolding to Jeremy's father. After which Shutter went walking down to Parry Lane. Yeah, nigga. Facts, nigga. I'm that nigga. What the fuck niggas be talking about? He went to check Builder because jobs had closed off and he would not have the money to continue for a while. Builder was pushing his little daughter on a stroller, and they both walked out of Parry Lane, where Shutter saw all the big ones, the Bob and Bob's friends, and them watching him. They were getting to see the young king, whose name had only begun to strike terror into their souls. Oh, they had not the slightest idea of what would become of their lives. They had woken up their Omega, and they had not even known it. He knew it. After making the entire rounds, they stopped in Farrell Drive and was chatting about Pope and Chinese, shot being called, etc. And something happened and Shutter switched. Boxer said that Shutter was all bark and no bite. He said that upstairs to someone. Had to be continued. Let's continue. In the year 2019, David Timothy was still living in St. Babs, Belmont in the Upper Tongue district. At the beginning of the year, he had already stopped off attending the Seventh-day Adventist Church, yes, the same exact church he was rebaptized into some 3 years before. He had done at the very beginning of the year a 40 days prayer and fast which ended on February 9th, during which he saw and heard many things. He even climbed to the top of the mountain that he would usually watch from his St. Bab's apartment. The 40 days was his second 40 days he had done. His marriage was in shambles, and God had revealed so much to him during this 40 days. When he visited the church, he knew he was never to go back as a congregant. He was shown too much to go back and fit in such a little box. It was He was hoping, that more people would have gained new light as well, since others claimed to be on a 40 days as well, even stating that they were getting so much revelations. He did not tell them, though, what God had shown him, because he knew they would not be ready. He thought to himself that these people were playing 40 days prayer and fast because they came out just as they went in. They were not really going before God. They were fasting with religion and its tales and its rules in mind. He was not, because he was busy getting to know his God. In Infidelity in his marriage was very clear to him. His neighbors, his family members, and the 40 plus people involved. People were seeing things all over happening with his wife. Right now, ex-wife, everything fixed up nice. Praise Jesus. She had become a boy toy, and even Americans knew. I guess she was international, so to speak. He wanted to make things work. He loved his wife, or so he thought, because he would later realize he only loved the idea or image that he bought from one of her usual sales. The damsel in distress, good girl item. She had become rude, disrespectful, and heartless, or was that he had now become aware of it? Nights became lonely as she would spend nights out with her lovers, sometimes making sure to leave no food at home. It was hard and embarrassing. The neighbors would throw words for him, and he would get the feeling everyone is talking about me energy when he passed them. He was staying prayerful and crying out to God. He thought this was his new life, the way things would have to be. He wondered where he went wrong. He thought that she had loved God and would not even think of such a thing. He was very wrong on both accounts. She had gotten comfortable and was riding with some other chicks who were also for the streets. Some true fours. Turn it upside down on your phone. That's hoes. H-O-E. He had often meet people who would tell him they saw her here and there doing X, Y, and Z. At that time, he was still busy working for God. He never let those things take his attention away from God. He was on Facebook Live, prayer, and faith, and every other Monday night that was run by a member of the prayer intercessors. Hospital visits were a sure thing as well. Anywhere God needed him, he would be at. She was busy getting fucked from almost anyone. She just needed a 5 minutes. No reason. Quickies was ramping up. Bodies were topping up. Quickies was ramping up. Bodies were topping up like phone cards. After sleeping around with a gym guy, she won a prize for a competition he was having. The prize was 2 tickets to Margarita, and I guess she thought that this would salvage what little of the marriage was left dragging around. He was doing quite a few jobs for good money, and he took time off and set some for when they would come back. The whoring tendencies were carried all across the waters, and even with a language barrier, she made certain to try and flirt with guys at the pool. Well, a guy, and you know how people dresses at the pool. He would try his best to smile and lime with the new vibes and hope for direction from God. One day she came to him about some counseling bullshit, along with talk about who said after 3 years marriage does have a rough period. Bullshit. Well, I said it doesn't have that, but fuck you and fuck who it happens, so I'm a different type of, you know what I mean? Come on. She was trying to tell him to just flow with it because everyone else does. At the counselors, she would act the role of wanting things to work, fake crying, and to be honest, that was the best conversations they had at that time. She asked him not to talk about the counseling at home or ask her anything about the outside business, or businesses I should put. I guess if you are in traffic, it would not hurt to speak to the person sitting next to you. But once you are out of the vehicle, all chat would finish. Being the wise man that he is, he would use the counseling sessions to study and learn the intruder of his heart. Realizing he had made an out in being a good judge of character, now was this his time to focus before making whatever decision would be necessary. He no longer wanted to sleep with her. One night he saw her. One night he swear she had sex with Jason Love because he fell into a well when he tried to sex her. You know Jason Love? The big dick man. Ask Adam about Luna the plug, right? Let me move. Oh, Lena the plug. Lena, yeah, my bad. He knew, but he knew But then he really knew, and the only reason for having sex that night was for physical investigations, right? The results were devastating. He quickly quit, and slept in the living room. She would ask him to come to bed, but he knew that he could not sleep around her. He began to feel good only when they were far apart. He soon began sleeping in the gym room, where he turned to ujizz.com, youjizz.com, where he would get off and feel a release from the stress he was feeling. Sleepless nights were becoming habitual, and even in work it would show. Even at times, he could not hide it. All this time, he already knew that he was going to be rich and wealthy. He was already designing his bad prototype and writing the English textbook. God, through Jesus Christ, was really helping him, and he knew this. He knew that how he was taking it was not normal. Sometimes he would go to a church event and she would stay back home, and as soon as he left, she would leave to go have her time. You know, neighbors talk, hey, I saw your wife left right after you. Why you did not wait for her? When confronted, she would say that everyone was lying and that they were too fast and should mind their business. She was glad that their counselor was not fast, and she got and she often boasted that he only suggested but never told them what to do. He was very cool in her books. She would hope that David would soon follow the suit. She would live to regret that though. In his mind, he had long now stopped seeing her as a wife, and he even told her. She was cool with that and said they could be roommates. She was too concerned with how things would look. Maybe one may add that it's easy to have outside lovers when there is one at home to care for you. However, when the one at home is removed, a lot will change. She would belong to the one and be a she would belong to no one, and be a stray. You know, like a potong or a dog at a sea roaming. There was a lot of drama surrounding her little sister and her husband and their marriage, and so she asked a favor of David. It was against tenants' rules, but he allowed her to come live with them. Frying pan into the fire, yeah. The gallery became a place to tell secrets with men, and they would even take off the lights while out there. The fellas that were coming to them would have no respect, no good night or anything, but loud laughing and chatting. Unaware of the monster that he was, that was so calm inside and could easily fuck up everything. They had no idea who he was, and worst off for them, who he would become. When he started to lime and do his thing with his cousin and other females, she began complaining about he not carrying her with him. While out with her man, she would message him because he stopped waste time with her, and say shit like, do not forget to watch the Sabbath edges. That was she called me to fucking tell me. You know how these bitches could get real spiritual when they realize things are changing. One day, he was home after doing a job for a beauty he nicknamed Diamond. I mean a real jewel, whose father he would later work for. Have mercy. St. James, shout out St. James and shout out Cascade. He felt it was time to leave, and the feeling was so strong. He made us a phone call, and his cousin said no at first, then called him back. Like that, he was gone, all in the blink of an eye. He was always that type of guy that would do anything once he felt strongly enough, even hurt people physically at any time and anywhere. Still am that guy. Praise Jesus. He always carried this superpower. She had no idea of what was happening that day when he moved back to El Seguro San Juan. He, not knowing the following few years would be the start of the most notorious and beautiful life, That night, he got a few calls after 10, and when he finally answered, he heard her say, "You move out!" She could not believe it. It would be fair to both parties that he often did warn her that he would leave her.
Next thing he saw, the counselor calling him, not once, but twice. He did not have time. The following day, the counselor messaged him on Facebook and said, I heard you left, etc. To which he responded to that fact that he never called him before, so do not call now. That moves are being, don't call now that moves are being made. This kid was very dangerous, the type of person like God to appear slow to act, but when he did, for it, but when he did, for if he said he would, one should just wait on it. So if in other words, if I tell you I'm going to do something, but I just telling you, feel like just talking, wait for it because it will sure happen. Surely happen. After God, amen. It sure would be coming. He had mastered that art of perfect timing, knowing the exact time to strike a blow. Waiting on set time, predestinated timing, and never ever looking back. Unleashed. The remainder of the day, Shutter stayed home on Monday. He saw Ronald, right? He came out and asked him, who is the main man? That's now something missing. Something missing. Yes, now. But the way this looks like if somebody interfere with this. Yes, now. Let me pause here.